Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel Trading Secrets. This channel is for entertainment purposes only. For those of you who do not know, my name is Ali. I have over 20 years experience teaching accounting, economics, business and law. Through this channel I'll be providing some stock analysis and a quick update on the $1 Million Challenge. So if anybody is not aware of this is a journey of investment of $1,000 to a return of $1 million over a period of 3 years using a strategy called compound return investing. So the objective is try to get 201 trades, each with an average return of 3.5%. It's not 201 consecutive trades, we do take into account losses. So for further details about how to join us for less than $9 a month, information is available in the description below. In today's video I'm going to be talking to Sheldon, who is the CEO, chairman and founder of ThreeD Capital. ThreeD Capital is one of the companies that was featured in a previous video, so go ahead and check that out. We're going to be talking about an overview of the company, future plans, and Sheldon will also be sharing with me updates on impending catalysts. So there is some exciting news. He's also shared details of a potential launch in the next few weeks with Oracle, so stay tuned for that. And we're also going to be looking at the potential for hydrogen, which I think also we talked about links with AI and the huge potential for that, especially with the need for clean energy. And they're also going to be talking with regard to a significant biotech launch. And so before we get started, let's have a look at what's happening in the market. First of all, we can see here from CNBC, the Dow Jones has fallen 200 points, Nasdaq is dropping just in excess of 1%, oil prices are rising, and this is all because of Middle East tension. So if we have a look at the heat map, again, mostly red, especially in the tech sector, but the energy sector is doing well. And we can also see in news with regard to NEO shared in the Discord. NEO had just shared improved details with regard to deliveries, so go ahead and check out ticker symbol NIO, which is going through a very positive momentum right now. And following on from previous video, shout out again to Gateway Pundit. This was covered in the previous video. The post has now received over 200,000 views, so again, a great story there. And final update from Henry with regard to the Fair Markets Now campaign. Again, we're looking at in excess of 5,900 letters sent, and total letters sent in all 4 campaigns in excess of 57,000. So this can now still be added, and it only takes 150 seconds. I'd like to welcome Sheldon, from who is the founder, chairman and CEO of ThreeD Capital. So I was also featured ThreeD Capital in one of my previous videos, so I will leave a link on that in the description. So before we get started, what I'd like to do is share with you the website from ThreeD Capital. And in my previous video, I described this company as a disruptive tech company specializing so it's like an EDF for disruptive technology. So it trades on Canada under the CSE under ticker symbol IDK, and also under the OTC under ticker symbol IDKF. So we can see here, if we go down, it's like an ETF for ground floor investments. ThreeD Capital provides investors with significant exposure to ground floor opportunities. They look at small caps in the very early stages. Hopefully that gives an opportunity for maximum return and huge potential. So obviously that also involves high risk, high reward. And again, we can see here disruptive technology is one of the specialisms. They're also looking at junior resources with an emphasis on precious metals. And I think hydrogen is one of the areas that hopefully we will be able to get a discussion going on. So the company gives a good opportunity for 99% of investors to participate in businesses where they may not be able to. So again, quick profile of Sheldon. Sheldon has got one of the most outstanding backgrounds from a CEO and professional businessman, certainly in Canada. If we look at the profile here, his investments fair value have reached £800 million. One of the firms commanded had a market cap north of 1 billion, and he's had successful unicorn exits, including $550 million, $1.2 billion, and $1.5 billion, which was for Gold Eagle Mines. So go ahead and check that one out. And if we come back to the meeting, okay, so Sheldon, could you start first of all by giving me a quick introduction in terms of your background, your professional career, and also my friend Hector stated that you took a previous venture to 150x, which obviously is fantastic, and I think that would certainly be appealing to many investors out there in terms of the story of that as well.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Hello to your audience. So this is the space that I have focused my career on. Starting in the 80s, I'm a CPA, Price Waterhouse, and I became an analyst, an oil and gas analyst. Then I built two major oil companies, one going to $12 billion for a life insurance company. So I have a big background in the energy space. And then I founded a company called Pine Tree Capital. Started off as a shell at 10 cents, did many, many projects, exited at $26. I've raised over 20 billion for the companies we've been in, and had, more than a half a dozen exits over $1 billion. Basically, I sort of retired. My son wanted to enter this business, and I love this business. So we started Pine Tree, I'll call it 2.0, which is ThreeD Capital. We've been stealth for 7 years because I'm not interested in promising people, oh, we're developing this technology, we're going to take over the world. No, we're interested in execution of announcing partnerships, sales, revenue, real milestones. And we are now, we set up, thanks to Hector, a YouTube channel. So we interview a lot of other companies. So I'm the messenger, but you can speak or listen to individual founders and their stories. They're amazing. And we are now in the commercialization phase. We thought it was going to be earlier in the year, but it looks like it's going to all happen in the fourth quarter of this year. And 2025 looks like it's going to be a very significant year for us.
Okay, excellent. So what I'd now like to do is go ahead again. We're going to go to the website again, and this time I want to look at some of the key areas that in terms of from the investment highlights. So let's have a focus of these. I think the one that I particularly focused on in my previous video was Todaq. I think that certainly is very promising, but we have a look at the overall investment highlights here. We can see lots of very interesting angles here. We have hypercycle, premium nickel. So I know minerals is something big, 1 billion. So again, this is a good opportunity here for people to invest in areas that they may not have that opportunity to invest in. So in terms of ThreeD Capital and its success, expectations, mission statement, purposes, what are you actually trying to achieve for this going forward? And will you also be looking for an exit at a certain point in time?
Sure. I mean, you always have to have an eye on an exit because in our business, you sort of eat what you kill. So the only way you make new investments is by, selling something at a profit. So our objective is if we don't see a 50x, we don't enter it. Now, that's an uphill battle, but we've done it many times. And in the case of how we operate, like in our office, we run like a bit of an accelerator. So these companies are actually embedded in our office. We know what's going on. We help them. We help create partnerships, and that de-risks the project. Time to market issues are reduced. Capital is reduced because we can create these partnerships where companies really work with other companies as opposed to, say, developing the whole supply chain themselves. So we are always on the lookout, but I have to talk about a company that we did not talk about the last time.
Okay.
And sometimes in this business, you get behind things and it takes a long time. But every so often you stumble on something that, whoa, this is hiding in plain sight. And this happened with a company called Quebec Innovative Materials. The symbol is QIMC. It's a public company, also on the CSE. And it was a company that had a silica asset, and they approached me, and I really wasn't interested in silica. It's an industrial mineral. You need offtake agreements. It's very challenging to build. But then one day we sort of were looking at the company and realized, wait a second, they have staked all these properties in Quebec for hydrogen. And we had been looking at hydrogen technology synthesis for many years. Extremely capital intensive, extremely IP driven, and everybody had a proprietary process in developing some type of hydrogen. Without question, hydrogen is the holy grail, zero CO2 footprint. But it was really just something that people talked about, but the technology, the infrastructure, storage, delivery, all these things were at an earlier stage. Everything has changed there now. And what we have found out when we looked at this company and looked at the technical reports that were on file is that there's a chance, a good chance, with the right geology, you can find commercial natural hydrogen in the ground. And I had not realized that. And I mentioned earlier that I have a big background in oil and gas. So I immediately looked at the reports, looked at it and go, this is very interesting. And all the technical work has been done by the province of Quebec, the government of Quebec. And so it's very detailed, very depth. And for about 6 years, they had been doing all this R&D on it. And they said, it could be there. So we decided immediately, we made an investment. The shares were 3 cents. And we took most of the financing. And we go, okay, give them the capital to try to see what they have found, to try to see what they can find. And to our surprise, we realized, we learned that you can determine hydrogen at depth based on soil samples, which really means hydrogen is, I think, number one in the periodic table. It's the lightest gas there is. When it's developed and it generates itself at subsurface, it's so light, it goes through fissures and cracks in rocks and comes to surface. And you can measure and capture that and measure what they call parts per million.
Yes.
So we started looking at all these companies in the world and realizing, many of them had low parts per million readings. It's because if you don't find hydrogen at surface, you're probably not going to find it subterranean. Well, the company started to do that and had basically the most spectacular hydrogen results that we have seen when we look at all the comparables, anywhere from 200 parts per million to 1,000. And, these are very, very strong indicators that there is pressure at depth that's creating this hydrogen and it's coming to surface. And the other very interesting thing about hydrogen is it does not deplete. So when you take it out and capture it, unlike, say, natural gas or oil and gas, oil, you deplete the reservoir because you take out what's contained. Hydrogen is created through the interaction of certain types of rocks, temperature, and water. And you need the right combination for it to occur. Well, once it comes to surface, or if we drill down, which we will, or go down and bring it out of the ground, when that happens, the hydrogen we take out is automatically repleted with new generated hydrogen. So if you look at a net present value analysis, this is like the most spectacular investment that could be. But what's also happening, dovetailing into that, is that the world now is looking for natural hydrogen. The light bulb has gone on. Gates and Bezos have put and raised over $300 million for a company to explore for hydrogen. Fortescue, the fourth largest iron ore company, staked almost the whole province of British Columbia, and they bought 40% of a company exploring for natural hydrogen in Kansas. So we believe that we are one of the first movers, and we believe that we've made a discovery to see how commercial it is. There's a lot of work that still has to be done, but the interest inbound that this company has had from major conglomerates around the world have recognized that this has the potential, because of the geology, to be a world-class discovery. And the company QIMC basically controls all the hydrogen-prone rocks in the province of Quebec. And so Quebec is basically proximity-wise, because transportation is a very important thing, to half the population in Canada, as well as over 100 million on the eastern seaboard and on the coast to ship to Europe. So they have the right location. The properties are so large, hundreds of square kilometers, that, some people, not me, have said this could be the Saudi Arabia of hydrogen. And I
Wow.
would say that this is a company that everybody should just pay attention to. I'm not giving any
Yes.
specific,
Yeah.
buy recommendation,
Yeah.
except, ThreeD has continued to buy shares every time they hit a
Yes.
milestone. We add to our position. We
Yes.
think this is one of the most outstanding situations that we have come across, and it happened all very fast.
Yeah.
So that's a new project since our last
Yeah.
discussion, and I think it's really important for people to do homework in
Yes.
hydrogen because it is the holy grail, zero
Yeah.
CO2 footprint, and
So
huge amounts of money have gone into how to not only extract it but how to store it and deliver it. And so the hydrogen revolution is very close. And my prediction is it's going to replace electric cars where you need 800-pound batteries to go into a car. And the CO2 footprint is off the scale
yes.
on trying to mine all those metals. And by the way, there's a shortage of nickel,
Yes.
copper, cobalt, and lithium to make all those batteries. So hydrogen will become the inflection point here. And we are at the front of that curve with QIMC.
Yeah, so I'm going to have a look at the website for QMC shortly. So you suggested one of the applicable revenue areas for that could be electric cars. Do you see
Well,
any other areas as well as in terms of hydrogen and generating revenue and commercial agreements?
yes, absolutely. The leading electric car company is Tesla.
Yes.
And Elon Musk has not been a fan of hydrogen
Okay.
until 3 weeks ago. And they announced that they are going to develop a hydrogen car by 2026.
Wow.
So the stamp of approval is there. We
Yes.
believe the initial applications for hydrogen will be in long haul trucking, where trucks go 12, 18 hours a day. They're constantly on the road. And that's going to probably be the first application. There are hydrogen stations now to fill up, but not a lot. And hydrogen is sold by the kilogram. The two major applications, other than say cars or whatever, or plants, you can upgrade hydrogen to create ammonia. Ammonia is used in fertilizer, and ammonia is extremely highly priced and very dirty. So hydrogen is a perfect substitute for that. The second use of hydrogen is in methanol, and methanol is starting to replace diesel.
Yes.
So there are many applications for hydrogen if you can find it in commercial quantities.
Okay, excellent. So let's go ahead and I'm going to try and have a look at the website, like you said, for QIMC. So we can see, I think this is the website here. So we can see here, if we go on to the About Us, so it's powering the AI revolution, hydrogen energy. So I suggest everybody go ahead and check this out. So this is obviously a mineral exploration development company with a diversified portfolio. QIMC is working towards a sustainable supply of resources which are essential in advancing batteries. Again, that's the angle with regard to EV, and obviously that stimulated Elon Musk's interest in this, as you have just said, and the electrification of the new green economy. So obviously this is certainly something positive for the environment. You can see the values there, a clean energy. The vision there is about sustainable practices and innovation. And we can see here the mission is to explore, develop clean natural hydrogen and high-grade silica deposits, two critical resources. So again, I think this is a company with possibly, as you said, in the early stages. If we go on to the investor center here and have a look at that, we can see here it trades under ticker symbol QIMC on the CSE, and ThreeD Capital, as you stated, has made investments in that. We can see here the profile in terms of the shares issued, stock options, warrants, and again we can see here the chart. Again, the chart does seem quite bullish. It is in a good recent upward trend there, and I think it's trading in the green right now. And again, we are on a significant red day right now. So again, I think that's very, very exciting there, and I think that's something that I think many people out there do not really have enough knowledge about this, because everyone focuses more on the traditional, oil, gas, and EV. But this is something I think that we certainly need to create more interest in.
Yeah, if I could add one thing
Yeah,
there.
go ahead. Yeah.
So the news coming out daily is
Yeah.
unbelievable. Last week, Australia announced they're putting 50 billion into hydrogen. They want to be the
Yeah.
biggest exporter. The Saudi Arabia just announced they're building a plant for 600 million tons of hydrogen a year. Last night, Microsoft announced in Ireland that they're basically going to be using hydrogen to drive AI data centers. AI data centers are going to be a massive consumer of energy, and there's not enough electricity. That they got to find an alternative source. It looks like hydrogen is going to meet that source. So that's going to be a major growth area as well. And if you look at hydrogen daily, you'll probably find 20 new articles a day. So it's just exploding.
Yeah, certainly. That's a good point, and I think one of the key objectives should be to create more awareness in this. And I would like the US government, the Canadian government, many of them to come on board and try to promote support with grants, because they do provide support for businesses in the EV sector. But this is something that is certainly urgently needed, especially if we're focusing on clean energy, green energy, and sustainable resources. So again, yes, this looks like it could be the future. As we know, oil is finite. We know that electric energy is not as good for the environment as many people may think. But this is, I think, a strong, sustainable alternative, definitely. Okay, so let's move on to one of the other questions that was suggested by Hector, and that is with regard to, we'll go back to 3D Capital. So in terms of plans, in terms of equity raises, these are one of the concerns from investors. Do you have any plans for share buybacks or equity raises? And in terms of overall valuation, from my point of view and what I've seen, I do think it's extremely undervalued. I'm hoping also you agree that it's close to the bottom, and it's probably the right time to look at this in terms of potential investment.
Yeah, I totally believe that. Just one sec, I got to close the door here. Yes, I believe that we're trading at a substantial discount. We've restarted our issuer buyback. We put it on pause now until we come up with our next NAV, but we're continuing to buy our shares back, and that's something that we're going to continue to do. So we think it's a great entry point. Obviously, all our projects looks like they're really going to do well in the next 6 months, I'll say. It's hard to totally pinpoint any exact time, and it's not in our control. But I think we're extremely positive what's going to happen, and we're going to try to buy back as many shares as we can.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so what I'd now like to do is move on to have a look at another thing that I featured in my previous video, and that was with regard to digital asset plans, blockchain, and I'd like to share with the viewers this. I think, let me just move on to it. Sorry, I think I'm muted. Let me just. Okay, so it's Todaq. So it states here access. So it's todaq.net. So access unserved users with micropayments. So just one tap, no registration, login, subscription. It's versatile, and it's looking at payments potentially worldwide. So in terms of what I've seen, the benefits here is obviously faster cash, add revenue, removes transaction fees. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about in terms of this particular angle of the business, I think that the market worldwide is possibly huge. So I've been looking at Africa, I'm looking at Asia, and I think almost everybody, even in those countries right now, do have smartphones. However, they don't all of them have online banking. So I think this is also something which has got huge potential. So, and obviously we know the market is there. And I think a key concern that most people would have would be obviously maybe potentially on the side of fraud. And I know you have addressed this issue. So could you tell us a little bit more from your point of view with regard to Todaq, the potential for it, and why you think it's low risk from the point of fraud as well?
So the potential is blue sky, blue ocean. We've launched now. We're launching with Google and two Canadian banks, CIBC and RBC, and on a world scale, they're top tier banks. Both of them, the key objective, other than the application here, is that fraud is the biggest problem they're facing today. And they believe that this is going to save them each hundreds of millions of dollars a year. So the way that this technology and tech stack is structured, very, very almost impossible to commit fraud. So fraud is actually a dividend, a side benefit, other than the main thing here is that 6 million people out of 8 million people on planet Earth cannot afford subscriptions. And most people really want user fees. They want to see something they like and pay for that content. They don't want to be obligated. And so we're launching with the two banks, as I mentioned, and Google. But now the big news that we have is we've just completed it. We're launching as well deeply with Oracle. And Oracle believes that we are going to disrupt many business models. And because basically what we can do is we can fractionalize the content, where before, again, what if you wanted to watch 10 minutes of a football game and not the whole game, but you had to buy the whole game? And these are not, this is just kind of examples that you have 10 minutes and, you want to pay 12 cents for that. Well, there's no way to do that because the cost of doing these transactions are prohibitive, like maybe 50 cents to $1 per transaction. The protocol beneath Todaq is called Todaq. It's basically a scalable protocol that allows unlimited transactions per second at fractions of a penny. So there's been nothing like it. The world's tried to find something like this for many years. People thought it was blockchain. Blockchain, through its consensus mechanism, cannot be scalable because it needs to go through that iteration. So we believe this is game changing. It's going to change many business models. And literally, Oracle has confirmed everything that we knew. And the launch is happening literally within 30 days.
Oh, wow. Excellent. That's fun. So hopefully there'll be some significant PRs, there'll be news, and that should create some awareness. And I'm hoping that's a very strong catalyst that you've shared there.
There's going to be some major announcements around this, and once they start, they'll continue on a daily basis.
Yeah, excellent. And in terms of the app, what would you be able to share in terms of users? Is it actually out there, people using it, or is it something that's in the planning and the development stages and it's going to be launched?
Yeah, it's out there. It's called TAP, TAPP.
Yes.
And also they're launching the game. Some people might remember it or not, called Pong. And now they have what's called micropong, and micropong is a game, and it's a segue into, playing with each other and, as a game, but it's also a segue into making micropayments and showing how easy it's going to be to do micropayments. You're not going to get into these hours and hours of KYCs and all this stuff. It's absolutely seamless. And so I encourage people to go to Todaq and go down the rabbit hole.
Okay, excellent. Right, so what I'd now like to do is move on to another area, and that is the biotech area. So let's just have a look at this section here from the website. And if we just go here, and if we look at here, so biotech is also an area. So we can see here from 3D Capital, there's a focus on the longevity and oncology. So these are two areas that obviously is covering cancer therapy, but and in terms of anti-aging, the potential market worth there is in excess of $2 billion. I think we can see they're growing at 16% compound annual growth rate. But there was something else I wanted to speak to you about, and that was with regard to something that was stated by hold on. Yeah, so it's with regard to Neurable brain reading headphones. So this is something I wasn't able to find on the website. So is it what could you share in terms of this, the launch and the potential for this?
Absolutely. If you go to our YouTube channel,
Yes.
Ramsey's, the founder, is interviewed. It's a very good interview. And it talks about, we've already done 8,000 trials of this. So it works. Its ability to read electromagnetic waves in your brain. And for example, if you got the headsets on and you're losing focus, it will tell you you're losing focus. So this is game changing. And if you look what Zuckerberg just said with his glasses and the headset, this is where the world is going. So Neurable is launching in October.
Okay.
So we have ordered headsets. We're going to get them in the month of October, and it's basically gone commercial. And what's interesting is I believe it's Google Ventures that's also an investor along with us. So I don't think this company will ever go public. I think it'll get acquired. I think it's going to, Samsung and Sony have shown, like, all the players are going in this direction, and we are probably the most advanced company doing it. So commerciality is now. We thought it was in the spring. It's now, now being October this month. And again, I encourage people to go to our YouTube channel and listen to the interview.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, and I have looked at the YouTube channel. I think it's quite informative. So again, from an investor point of view, lots of information there in terms of different investments, different angles, and the areas that ThreeD Capital is involved in. And it's certainly positive from that point of view. And I think one other thing I wanted to ask you about was with regard to investments from yourself. I think I was told by Hector you currently hold approximately 10 million shares in the company. And from your point of view, is this something that you are continuously adding? And what do you see as the potential going forward for the future and catalysts that are impending, as well as what we've looked at right now?
For ThreeD?
Yes, ThreeD and yourself, yeah.
Yeah, so ThreeD, well, from time to time I do add, but certainly the issue or buyback is taking shares out of the market. I am, expecting a 20 bagger from here. I'm hoping, I don't predict anything, but I think we're going to establish milestones in some of our businesses that are going to be mind-boggling, and that those values are going to drive the NAV of ThreeD. And I think 2025 is going to be our year. Yeah,
definitely. I think so. And I think that's certainly something that we hope. And I think a lot of people have stated that they think the market could be due a strong recovery. And I think mid cap and small cap stocks certainly are due significant growth. It's been a while. And I think I do agree with you. I think 2025 could be a good year. And the final thing I'd like to ask you is with regard to Hector sharing information with regard to a lawsuit. He stated you've just recently had success in a lawsuit. This was with regard to NFG. So again, could you give us a quick summary of it in terms of why that was important and what was the outcomes of this particular lawsuit?
Yeah, it went back a number of years. It was on a mining property, went through a couple levels of discovery, was going to go to trial, and then the suit got settled for a very good amount, and it's giving ThreeD, more capital to invest in. Okay,
excellent. Finally, I think I'd like to thank you for coming onto the program, Sheldon, sharing some outstanding catalysts. I think I have made a note of some of these key dates and launches, especially with regard to the headphones in October. And the
I could add one more.
Go ahead.
More because I haven't talked about it in a while. Yes. But I think it's an area of biotech, let's call it. It's a company called Avicanna. Yes. And I think Avicanna is turning the tide and could be a major winner in 2025. And I encourage people to watch the video of the CEO and founder.
Okay, excellent. And again, thank you for coming onto the show, Sheldon. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully we can follow this on. And I would also add all the links in the description below, and hopefully we can speak again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.